Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today's video is going to be all about German tanks just not giving up, which is one of the main reasons why I adore playing German tanks in World of Tanks. Now, a lot of you might know me as the guy who once called the E50M weak, right? Well, spoilers, I'm going to be playing the E50M later on in this video, and you're going to see why it's actually ended up with being probably my go-to tier 10 medium, although possibly for different reasons as to why many people would play tier 10 mediums. But firstly, I'm going to be playing the T54D. This is a hugely underrated tier 9 premium medium tank that is inside. It's a German tech tree. Well, not tech tree, it's a premium tank inside the German nation of World of Tanks. It's going to be kind of like an East German tank. That's why it's Soviet, but it's German, right? But it is kind of quintessentially German with the way that it plays. It's got just really thick frontal armor. This is a bit like as if a T-54 just grew up and became like a Super Pershing. Just thick spaced armor all over the front, and you combine this with a very German gun. 390 alpha damage and 300 millimeters of heat pen as well, with good shell velocity on both of its rounds. It's even got, okay shell velocity on its 8 HE rounds. So, yeah, unfortunately at the start here, you're going to see me try and just fail a boost up on this slope, because I just love managing to sneak up here and make your way up like you used to be able to. However, really the T-54D, I probably could manage it, just to practice it a little bit here. Maybe am I going to give it another run? Am I going to try again? A spectacular fail, try up this side instead. The water just slows me down a little bit too much. I can do that in faster mediums and definitely in light tanks. I usually like to ramp up around there. There is also some way to be able to get up here and then land up that area. But if you're able to sneak up there and bypass, it can be absolutely fabulous. You know what would have probably been better is if I just went towards the heavy flank in the first place. But I thought that more people were going to fight in towards the medium tank area. And this vehicle, with its 5 degrees of gun depression, it's just not great at being able to fight towards the north of this map. However, this position, this is lovely. This is lovely. This is what I'm talking about. Now, look, I will be honest about this gun. While its ammunition is definitely German, the way that it handles absolutely isn't. The gun handling on this vehicle is pretty darn horrific. So much so that I'd definitely recommend that you take vertical stabilizers on this tank. And you see that I'm not using them, but that's because sometimes I don't like to practice what I preach. And this vehicle, its view range just feels absolutely awful without vents. And it's a tank that needs the DPM, so it needs the gun rammer, and then its top speed is 40 kilometers an hour without a turbo. So is it kind of more of a heavy tank then, rather than a medium at that kind of area? This is the kind of tank that it's so close to just being bonkers overpowered that I think if I could use like 4 or 5 pieces of equipment on this tank, that it would be just absolutely insane. It's so close, and you know you're onto a very good tank when that's the case. Where Wargaming have clearly tried to do everything that they can to make it as powerful as possible, but to make the areas that nobody really usually thinks about. Oh wow, that was a horrendous bounce off the lower plate at the E75 there. I should have been loading gold. Heat round would have definitely gone in there. But when Wargaming balance out the... Why am I firing regular rounds? Oh, thank God I'm firing gold now. Gosh, it's almost as if I don't want to win this battle. I got to spam to win, right? I digress. It's almost as if Wargaming have basically tried to balance out vehicles like this by just making their soft stats as ugly as possible. So I'm going to try and flank in here to see if I can help out this Tortoise, but oh dear, I kind of end up screwing him a little bit there, but I'm going to try and get in front of him, see if I can cover him a little bit, but it's a little bit too late. Honestly, I think that E75 would have been able to get the Tortoise there anyway. I don't think I was the one who exactly put him out in front of 5 or 6 tanks. I wanted to try and assist him, and swinging across there to be able to get a better angle on my opponents was the way that I was going to do this. So great shot by the 53 TP. Managed to put one right through the front. I'm not sure where they went in. I think they probably just shot the side part of this tank, and that's the problem with having this space protection, is that it does have issues. And unfortunately, the E75 is giving me more than issues right now, as I fail to penetrate the top of the tank. The Progetto 66 comes round the corner, but hopefully we're going to get him to fire his heat round into our tracks there, absorb it. Is he going to come after me again? Luckily, he deals with the tank behind me. But slowly but surely, my allies are really dwindling right now. I'm going to have to try and do everything that I can to push this Carnarvon Action 10 away from the wall, so I'm going to be able to use his vehicle. But look at this thing's armor. 1,960 damage blocked against a few gold rounds on the enemy team. And now it's a case of we're against 3 vehicles around this corner. The Ferdinand's telling me to fall back. Mate, maybe if I had some kind of teleportation device I could do, but otherwise that's not going to work. Luckily, the E77 bounces off the top of my tank. That blooming 53 TP with the stock turret puts in a great shot, however, and I'm just hoping that I can be able to not expose my weak points on top of this vehicle. And, oh man, 14 seconds left. Looks like my team is going to win easy days, easy life, right? I just want this 53 TP to bounce off me, but it looks like the Emil's going in behind them. The Emil 2 shutting down the tier 8 Polish heavy tank, and that allows me to breach through this gap. So big thumbs up to the Emil 2 squad there, coming in and definitely changing this map. Although, unfortunately, with the fact that the enemy still kind of hold the center, bad things are about to happen. Now, remember that your hit points, as I say all the time, don't update if tanks are outside your render distance. Unfortunately, because I use the free cam, you can no longer see the 568 meters, or is it 564? On the minimap, but you can see that the T-55A got killed in a single shot there. They were full health, but they're actually not. Hopefully, it will go the other way on the enemy team, and the 704 and friends will be low on health as well. And oh man, I can't believe I don't catch that tank. Definitely a call for using vert stabs on this vehicle to be able to improve the gun handling there. But let me finish what I was saying. You know that a tank is powerful when Wargaming basically make all of the soft stats annoying, when they make the gun handling annoying, when they make the engine power annoying, when they make the view range annoying, all of these kind of aspects, and when they make the accuracy annoying, which they actually haven't done on this vehicle. But just look at this. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much you aim. Oh! Rewind the YouTube video there for multiple reasons. Firstly, how can my near full reticle not go into the backside of Pat in the tank? And also rewind it so you can see an awesome Goomba kill there as the Emil 2 squashes Pat in the tank underneath him. I would have probably saved that Emil to about 350 hit points or so if I'd managed to actually hit the pattern. Hopefully we're not going to need those hit points later on in this game. And things are looking ugly. We're down 3,000 hit points. We've only got 1,500 hit points left amongst all of our players. Only the 53 TP will actually be able to take a hit. And talk about 53 TP, they managed to shut down the Conway, which is going to be a good start coming back into this. Unfortunately, unable to quite catch the G-Saw 1010 that we missed earlier. And I get spotted. We're not sure by who. The camera rating on this vehicle, it's definitely not great. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's actually, when I talk about it, it's actually better than a Leopard, but it's not fantastic. Especially if you decide to actually make the camera rating worse on this vehicle and focus on its reverse speed for its close quarters combat. Because again, this tank, 15 reverse speed, isn't great for a medium. And if you go the other way, this thing can feel very, very slow backwards, even with a turbo. So I would not recommend actually lowering your camera rating on pretty much any medium tank in the game, apart from ones like this and maybe the super pushing, which you know you're going to use in close quarters combat for the most part. But still, as I said, with decent accuracy, this vehicle, when it's aimed, it's aimed. It's just trying to manage to get the tank into the position where it's there. Okay, so unfortunately, with the chart finishing off that 53 TP, we have 281 hit points amongst me and the Emil 2. And the enemy have 3,800 hit points. At least that's depending whether the Panther is spotted very healthy or not. So I'm just hoping that they appear and they have no health, otherwise this is going to get very ugly very quick. But as is the title of this video, German tanks never give up. We've had a pretty shocking game so far for a tier 9 medium. Honestly, I just feel like I've floundered around for 9 minutes and got a little unlucky. But what I'm going to show you here is that sometimes it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And luckily for me, the Emil catches the Char Future 4 right out in the open. We put a good shot in through the turret there, and they've got 2 tanks inside the cap circle. Not sure if it's the Panther 2, probably not the G-Saw. This Char so focused there on the Emil, manages to spot me finally. I'm going to take my chances against this Panther 2, but in retrospect, I probably should have stayed hidden considering how long my reload was. But we don't have time to faff. It's going to take me at least 30 seconds to get towards the circle, and so I need to put some pressure up on this Char. But luckily, the Panther indeed did get spotted on a one-shot, meaning that our opponents only have like 1,200 more hit points after we just shaved off 800 off the Char. This is a little bit sketchy, a little bit risky, but we got to go for it. We lose another 42 hit points, but that allows me to be able to get behind the Char are and to be able to make the flanking shot there. And unlike earlier, the shell doesn't deviate pretty much outside the reticle. And now our 2 versus 4 has become 2 versus 3. 25 seconds left. And one thing that I'm about to find out is that I did not realize how deep this water is here. It gets quite deep quite quickly. So much so that we're actually drowning in this situation. Well, there's only one way, and that's forwards. Luckily, the G-Saw bounces off our thick armor. Whereas the other tank that's in the cap circle, oh my word, the 704 bounces as well. I'm just going to shoot the 704 there to be able to get the interrupt, and then hopefully turn my tank's armor around to bounce yet another gold round from the British medium. And so now I'm in an awkward situation against a 704 that is most likely to be loaded quickly with a G-Saw up there. But luckily, the Massichin on our team playing in the Emil 2 managed to shut down the Panther 2. And so now the 2 versus 4 has become a 2 versus 2, and we've whittled down all of our opponent's hit points to a manageable position. So I'm just hoping that the Emil 2 is going to push in and to help me against this G-Saw. I don't want to fire at the 704 right now, because I was thinking if I fire at the 704, the G-Saw is just going to come around the corner and tag me, and that's why I'm aiming at them. But luckily, the G-Saw tries to go down the slope and crashes and destroys themselves, but unfortunately the 704 finishes off my Emil friend, but that's going to allow us to be able to shoot him once, and I'm definitely going to reload in time, so 50-50 to win the game here. Okay, low roll. That's not so much of a big deal, but it does now mean that the 704 is spotted, or shall I say that he is loaded. And that whiff of an HE shell, which he actually tries to fire through my spaced armor. Now, back in the day, this shot would have won the game, because he would have fired into my spaced armor, it would have exploded and done damage on my roof deck, crippling my tank and removing me from this battle. But luckily, it's not old school World of Tanks. He's fired at spaced protection that he didn't know about, and it hasn't actually connected with the turret. And remember, you have to hit hull armor and not just spaced armor to do damage with HE and also with AP rounds. So lucky for me, we're able to use that German riot shield to be able to bait the 704 into firing. And in the end, we save at least what could have been a disastrous game to being fairly decent. And just look at that damage blocked. 3,700, enough to destroy this tank multiple times over. And that is just what's so great about German tanks. They got good guns, they got good armor, and sometimes, at least not in this case, they have the finesse as well. Finesse is something that maybe the T-54D misses, but it's definitely not something that the E-50M doesn't have. Unless, like me, and you decide you set your vehicle up like a bit of a goon. I'm playing on mines. When I play on mines, there's only one thing that I want to do. Win the hill and use that to hopefully dominate the rest of the map. So I'm actually going to be taking a turbo, a spall liner, and a durability device on this vehicle. Mad, right? But what this will give us, because we can use fuel instead of a med kit, that's why we use the spall liner. And the spall liner will also allow us to pretty much ram everything and take very small amounts of ramming damage. Unless it's something like a mouse. Don't try and ram a mouse, okay? Something that weighs three times your weight. But what this will allow us to do is just plow up onto the hill and win it for our team. And hopefully that's enough to be able to win the game. And with that durability device, the Bond durability device, even though we've taken a substantial amount of damage, it's not really too bad. Oh god. Well, yeah, I mean, talk about substantial damage. That was just absolutely crippling there. I whiff 800 hit points to the BZ-176, something that you don't want to do. But luckily now, even though, you know, we're not taking anything that actually helps our firepower on this tank, what we are taking now is, well, we've managed to get the position, and even without the gun rammer, even without the vents, even without the vert stab, even without the aiming device, all of these modules that actually make your gun better, the E-50M has enough gun to actually still be quite vicious in these scenarios, especially with these 340mm of heat pen, yeah, as long as you can hit the Object 432, right? So, we've taken the hill. The 432 seems to have got themselves in an open position. I thought they were going to shoot my friends. Gosh darn it, they actually put a shot into me. And that is unfortunate. And I should have about an equal reload to this player. I don't want to lose any more hit points, but I'm still going to take the risk. And luckily, their 300 millimeters of heat pen doesn't manage to go through me. Am I going to continue to side scrape at it against this T-54E1? Yeah, I am. You know, it's just a heavy tank. I'm a medium. But that's just what beautiful is about this tank. Its armor is just great. Even on a slope like this, its upper hull is still decent. I wouldn't chance it against really high pen, but I don't think the T-54E1 has that good gold pen. It's better than it used to be back in the day. It used to only have like 240, but now its standard rounds have got that, and I believe the T-54E1 has got about like 300 millimeters of APCR pen. Not bad, but definitely not the kind of caliber that you'd have on its bigger brother, the T-57 Heavy. So, what this is the age-old question. Should you invest your hit points early to be able to take important positions? Will those important positions give your team presence that allows you to dominate the game? It's a play style that there's many different ways to play World of Tanks. It's always something that I've played for, to play those early games, to take those crunch positions. And we're just going to have to see whether we're able to influence the rest of the map, even though, you know, we have kind of spunked away a lot of our hit points. That angling against the BZ-176 was poor. I was over-angled. And you make one mistake against a BZ-176, and it doesn't matter if you're a tier 10 tank using a durability device, you are down a third of your hit points. Talk about it down a third of your hit points, man, this T-103 got fairly unlucky there. Just German accuracy, right, boys and girls? With 0.3 base accuracy on the E50M, we're able to get some clutch shots in against the T-54. Not the T-54E1, sorry, the T-103 at the back of the map. So a fairly even game right now, right? A bit like how we were playing in the T-54D previously. We were kind of just messing around a little bit. Game was close. But later on, things are going to get quite tense in the E50M. And what you're going to see me doing now is, I was actually just thinking, what happens if I use the handbrake on the tank, and then I can like wiggle my armor forwards? And what I was imagining is if I was trying to angle my armor against an opponent, and then I can like wiggle my vehicle like that, I honestly think that if I use the handbrake and I wiggle a little bit, that maybe it's going to make it even harder for our opponents to be able to catch us. Because you notice, not only are we turning left and right, as you saw right at the end when I released the handbrake, we're also going forwards, which makes it much harder to be able to predict a tank's movement and to be able to catch it. So while, look, the lower plate is still going to be weak, and you could argue that why don't you just let go of the handbrake and actually advance at them so you can be able to ram them? But in certain scenarios, it might actually be the case of having a little bit of a wiggle in that scenario. It might be better. And I guess it's just arguable. And let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would it be better if you kind of like caught out in the open to slow your vehicle down and make yourself really awkward with using the handbrake once you've got good engine power with the build that I'm using, and kind of like making that awkward wiggle? Or do you think it's a case of just wanting to get out of the open quickly by using your speed, or to be able to close the distance and ram your opponents? Looks like I hit the T-103 again, possibly. Unfortunately, looks like it was a low roll. I definitely hit them because, well, either they're track or I definitely caught them. And I was trying to track that WT Alpha Panzer IV there as well. I guess in a situation where you can't just rush at someone because maybe you'll be going out into the line of fire, but you want to wiggle, I think the handbrake might actually be a good way to kind of like dance a little bit in the E50M. So in that kind of situation when there's no way for you to be able to pull back around a corner and get shot without making your position easy and predictable with the way that you reverse around a corner, I think maybe kind of like a little bit of a wiggle there could be kind of fun. Might be something that I try to practice a little bit. And here's the thing in World of Tanks. Just because I've played like 100,000 battles on my main account, and that's excluding all the battles I've played on my free-to-play account, you've still got to try new things and think about new things and try and figure out what works and what doesn't work, right? Sometimes pushing against the meta can be a little bit jarring and challenging to do, and sometimes you can fall into the habit of thinking like, oh, because it's different, it's got to work, right? Maybe not. But in the end, I've managed to get my E50M win ratio when I'm not using a gun rammer, when I'm not using vents, and when I'm not using vert stabs, way better than I ever was when I was kind of like taking the gun rammer and the vents and the turbo on this tank exclusively. Alright, So, tough game here. Team again down by 2,000 hit points. IS-4 out in the open. And this one should be easy to put right through the upper part of their tank. Delicious. The enemy team finally started to push forwards as they think they not only have a numerical advantage, but they also have a substantial amount of hit points against us. And in this kind of a situation, it's about just trying to create the crossfire. And this is why having the hill is just so important. It's allowing us to be able to quickly relocate to get lines of fire down on other areas of the map. Be it engage the Borask, be it thinking that I'm going to go across to try and stop the STRV, trying to deny the hill to our opponents as well. So the STRV was last seen driving towards the hill, and unfortunately that means that we're going to be unable to catch them now. And in these kind of close games, man, we're actually down by over 3,000 hit points right now. You can't afford to faff. You have to get stuck in. You have to try and help your allies, because if you don't, well, they're likely to fall. And when your allies fall, unless you get very lucky, it doesn't really matter. Oh, come on. Talk about get unlucky, right? In that situation, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're still not going to be able to handle. So in this kind of a situation, we can just fire heat above the gun. The STRV-103B has fabulous armor, 40mm plus, meaning that all of my AP shells will bounce off unless I hit the weak point. But it's far easier to hit above the gun there, or to shoot the lower plate towards the front of the vehicle with the lower plate to be able to make it work. And I'm just hoping that I'm going to come round. But look, the STRV's wiggling me now, and I miss my shot through the space protection there. And now we are down to a one-shot. But luckily, down to a one-shot now, we have Adrenaline Rush activated on our E50M. So our rate of fire just went up. Used to go up by a gun rammer. These days, not. And luckily, my STRV finishes their duel against their STRV. Borask out in the open, we're going to reload an HE shell. One right through the turret for 520. That now puts them in the range where if I penetrate another HE shell, we should be able to shut them down. And we're now once again in a 2 versus 4. But oh, clutch shot to the top of the turret means the 2 versus 4 becomes a 2 versus 3. So I was worried that this Liberté was going to come up on the corner. So what I want to do is actually pretend like I'm shooting for the Liberté while I'm still spotted, but now go off and go towards the Skoda T50. Right through the side there, and I still expect that the Liberté is going to come after us. And what I want to do right now is just create an angle. If I create an angle here and they try and go around the back, I can still shoot them. So this is where I want to be for holding this line of fire, because not only am I protected mostly by the wall, I can also see my opponents if they try to escape off. And there you go. Don't want to let wicked sick OG around, as luckily the G-Saw finishes off the Skoda T56, but will we be able to reload in time for the Liberté? And we will! And wham bam, thank you ma'am. Once again, just a good day to be a German tank. Wonderful stuff. Love the E50M. Love these 2 close engagements, and indeed this was Panzer IV for the Germans. And what more can you really want for 6,700 damage and maybe to not spend 91,000 credits on ammunition? Good lord, I was sweating in this game. And also, while the spool liner and the fuel were useful to be able to get up on the hill initially, I didn't show you any rams. That's something that I'm going to have to fix in a YouTube video very soon, as I've been saving up some pretty magical E50M games over the last year. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, this was why I love German tanks, and why no matter how the game seems to be going, especially towards the start, German tanks can just finish strong. Other vehicles without armor just feel so disappointing when a vehicle comes around the corner and you've got no chance of being able to ricochet them, which does make glass cannons feel really frustrating and really boring, especially in those close scenarios. And it's also probably why I think all of these years later, I'm not sure I can really keep calling the E50M a weak tank. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you loved these 2 close games in these German tanks. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite nation in World of Tanks and why? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.